The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped beneath the glass doors of a penthouse that had everything except warmth. It was written in uneven handwriting, the paper creased and smudged. The first word made the millionaire's breath stop in his chest. Dad. For a man who had spent his entire adult life building companies, buying silence, and sleeping alone in a house too large for one heart, that single word hit harder than any loss he had ever faced. Adrian Cole was known in business circles as a man without roots. He had grown up in foster homes, learned early that attachments were temporary, and built his fortune on discipline and emotional distance. At 42, he had more money than he could ever spend, and no one to share it with. His days followed a rigid routine: morning workouts, board meetings, late dinners, with people who wanted something from him. Family, to Adrian, was an abstract idea he had buried long ago. He read the letter again, hands slightly trembling. It was signed by 4 names: Liam, Noah, Emma, and Ava. Quadruplets. The letter said they were 10 years old, living in a small town 3 hours away. It explained that their mother had passed away months earlier, and before she died, she told them who their father was. Adrian laughed once, a short, disbelieving sound. He had never been married, never even allowed himself to love deeply. This had to be a mistake. Or worse, a scam. But something about the letter felt different. It didn't ask for money. It didn't beg. Simply said, "Mom said you didn't know about us. She said you were kind once. We just wanted you to know we exist." Adrian sat down slowly. Memories rising, uninvited, one woman from years ago, a brief relationship during the loneliest period of his life. He had left without explanations, afraid of needing someone. The timing matched. Fear tightened in his chest. Against his instincts, Adrian drove to the town listed in the letter. The house was small, weathered, with chipped paint and a crooked porch. When the door opened, 4 identical pairs of eyes stared back at him. 2 boys and 2 girls, all with the same dark hair and the same unmistakable shape of his eyes. In that moment, denial collapsed. This was no coincidence. The children didn't run to him. They didn't cry or call him dad again. They simply watched him, cautious and hopeful, as if afraid that any sudden movement might scare him away. The woman who stood behind them introduced herself as Mrs. Harris, their temporary guardian. She explained the struggle, how the children were facing separation into different foster homes if no family stepped forward. Adrian felt a strange ache, a feeling he didn't recognize at first. It was responsibility and fear. He tried to leave. He told himself he wasn't built for this, that he didn't know how to be a father. But that night, back in his empty penthouse, silence pressed in on him harder than ever before. For the first time, the space felt unbearable. He thought of 4 children sleeping in unfamiliar beds, holding on to each other so they wouldn't feel alone. He remembered being that child once. Adrian returned the next day, then the next. Slowly, the children began to speak to him. Liam was protective, acting older than his years. Noah was quiet and observant. Emma asked thoughtful questions, while Ava clung to a worn stuffed rabbit, watching Adrian with guarded curiosity. They didn't demand love from him. They offered trust, one fragile piece at a time. The challenges came quickly. Lawyers questioned his intentions. Social workers doubted his ability to change. Adrian himself doubted it most of all. He missed meetings, rearranged priorities, learned how to make pancakes, and attend school conferences. He failed, often forgot pickup times, said the wrong things, but each mistake taught him something he had never learned in boardrooms: patience. The night the children called him dad out loud for the first time, it wasn't planned. Ava had a nightmare and found her way to the guest room where Adrian slept during his visits. Half awake, he pulled her into a careful embrace. She whispered the word like a question. "Dad." His answer came without thought, voice thick with emotion. "I'm here." The court date arrived months later. Adrian stood in a suit worth more than most homes in the town, but his hands shook as he listened to the judge. When the adoption was approved, the children didn't cheer. They cried. Adrian did too. In that moment, the past no longer defined him. He wasn't a man without family anymore. Years later, the penthouse would be replaced by a house filled with noise, laughter, and messy breakfasts. Adrian would still be a millionaire, but his greatest wealth would be for voices calling his name at the end of each day. He learned that family isn't about perfection or blood alone. It's about choosing to stay even when you're afraid. The shocking letter that once threatened his carefully controlled life became the greatest gift he had ever received. And Adrian Cole, who once believed he was alone by design, finally understood a simple truth. Sometimes, the family you never knew you had is exactly the one that saves you.